You're sitting across from her at dinner. The restaurant is quiet. There's a candle between you, flickering slightly in the air conditioning, and she's talking about something that happened at work today. A conversation with a coworker that bothered her, something she can't quite shake. And you can see it. You can see her searching for the right word, the exact right word that would capture what she's feeling. And she's almost there, and something in you just doesn't help her find it. You're tired. Not in a dramatic way, just tired. The kind of tired that's become normal. You let the silence sit a little too long, and she finishes the sentence without you. She always finishes the sentence without you now. And for a second, nothing happens. The waiter comes by. You order dessert. She smiles at you across the table, and on the surface, everything looks fine. But then you feel it, that quiet little sting. Not about the word, about what the skipped word actually means. Why does this keep happening? Why does it feel like we're in the same room but on different planets? Is this just what long-term relationships feel like? Do I still love her, or have I just gotten used to her? Am I the problem? Here's the thing that most people never tell you, and it's going to reframe everything about how you see your relationship. The relationship didn't get harder because your love faded. It got harder because your safety did. You're not failing at love, and this is not a sign that you chose the wrong person. Every couple that has ever loved each other deeply has stood exactly where you're standing, in the quiet after the connection starts to thin, wondering if this is just what it becomes. Wondering if the spark is gone for good, wondering if they're the only one who feels it. But here's what I want you to understand. What you're feeling right now is not the end of something. It's the beginning of a different kind of love, a deeper one. And today, I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like by walking through 7 things that women only do when they truly, deeply love you. Not the obvious things, not the things that make for a cute Instagram post. These are the invisible ones, the ones she does when she thinks no one's watching. The ones that only happen when the love is real, when it's rooted, when it's the kind of love that doesn't just feel good, but actually means something. Once you see these 7 things, you can't unsee them, and that changes everything. So let's get into it. Most couples believe something that sounds true, but isn't. They believe that love is supposed to feel easy, that if it gets hard, something broke, that if you have to work at it, the spark is gone, that the fact that you're struggling means you picked the wrong person, or that the magic has expired, or that this is just what happens when the novelty wears off. They believe that the best relationships are the ones where you never fight, where everything flows, where you read each other's minds and never have to ask for what you need. And they spend years feeling broken for not having that, not realizing that what they're looking for doesn't actually exist. That the couples who seem like they have it easy either aren't being real with each other, or they haven't hit the part of the relationship where real love gets tested yet. But the real truth is this: real love doesn't stay easy. Not because it fades, but because it deepens. And depth requires work. Not the kind of work that drains you, the kind that stretches you, the kind that makes you grow into someone capable of holding something bigger than you were before. When a woman truly loves you, her nervous system is reading you constantly. Not your words, your presence, your availability. Whether your energy toward her says, "I want to be close," or "I need space." Whether your eyes light up when she walks in the room, or whether you're just there, in the same room, going through the motions. And when that signal shifts, even slightly, her body registers it before her mind can catch up. Her attachment system activates. Not because she's dramatic or needy or controlling, but because her body is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's trying to protect the connection she desperately wants to keep. What looks like her being too sensitive is her attachment system activating. What looks like her being dramatic is her body trying to protect the connection it desperately wants to keep. What looks like her picking a fight out of nowhere is actually her holding something that's been building for weeks, maybe longer, and finally reaching her breaking point. She's not trying to control you. She's trying to hold on to you. And those two things could not be more different. And here's what most couples never figure out. The reason she pulls and you pull away isn't because you don't love each other. It's because you're both trying to protect yourselves in the only way you know how. She pulls because she's scared of losing you. You pull away because you're scared of being consumed. You're scared of losing yourself and her needs. You're scared that if you give her everything she needs, there won't be anything left for you. Two people who both want the same thing: closeness, safety, real intimacy, caught in a cycle neither of them named. Neither of them understood. And so they keep doing the same dance, over and over, wondering why it feels like they're going in circles. The anxious, avoidant cycle. You've probably heard of it. Maybe you didn't know that's what was happening in your own relationship. But this is it. This is the pattern. One partner pulls for connection. The other pulls away from it. The first partner notices the pulling away and pulls harder. The other pulls away further. And on it goes. until both of them are exhausted and wondering why this is so hard. But here's what changes everything. When you start to understand what's actually happening beneath the surface, when you see that both of you are scared, both of you are protecting, both of you are trying, something shifts. You stop seeing her as the problem. You start seeing the cycle as the problem. And that changes how you respond. That changes everything. And that's what these 7 signs are about. Not what she does when she's performing love. Not what she does when she wants you to think a certain way about her. What she does when the love is real. When it's underneath all the patterns and the cycles and the defense mechanisms. When she is showing you, in the only ways she knows how, that you are the one. So let's go through them. And I want you to really pay attention. Because these are the things that most people miss. The things they overlook because they don't know what to look for. But once you see them, once you recognize them, you'll understand something profound about the woman you're with. And about the love you're in. Number 1, she chooses to stay when she's scared. Most people in relationships think love is proven by the good times, the excitement, the passion, the you're my person moments, the grand gestures, the way she lights up when you walk in the room. They think that's where love lives, in the highs. But here's the deeper truth. Love is proven in the moment she has every reason to leave and doesn't. Every relationship hits a rough patch. Every couple faces a season where the easy thing would be to walk away. Maybe it's a fight that got too deep. Maybe it's a betrayal that broke something. Maybe it's just the slow erosion of time, the slow realization that this person isn't who you thought they were, or that you're not who you used to be, and something fundamental has shifted. And in that moment, that hard, quiet, painful moment, she has every reason to leave. Her friends are telling her to leave. Her family is telling her to leave. Her own internal voice, the one that's been quietly keeping score for months, is telling her to leave. But she doesn't. When a woman truly loves you, she will sit in discomfort she was never supposed to have to sit in. She will hold space for your growth, even when it's inconvenient. She will stay through the hard conversations you didn't want to have because she believes, really believes, that what you have is worth protecting, that what you're building together is bigger than whatever is breaking right now. And her brain is quietly registering something like, he's not perfect, but he's trying, and that's enough. Not because she's naive, not because she doesn't know how hard this is, but because she's making a choice, a conscious, clear, courageous choice to believe in you, to believe in this, to bet on you. Most couples don't talk about this part. They talk about attraction, chemistry, the spark, the butterflies. They don't talk about the quiet, unromantic, everyday courage it takes to choose someone when the fairy tale version of them has crumbled, and the real version is standing right there, tired, flawed, human, doing their best. That choice? That's love. And it's the one most people never learn to recognize because it doesn't look like a movie. It doesn't come with a soundtrack and a slow-motion walk. It looks like her deciding, again and again, in the small moments and the hard ones, that you're worth the risk. If she's doing this, if she's choosing to stay when it's hard, that's not her being stuck. That's her being all in. Number 2, she lets herself be inconvenient with you. Here's the one most couples never figure out. There is a version of every person that the world gets to see. The curated version, the highlight reel. The one that's pleasant, reasonable, easy to be around. The one that says the right things, laughs at the right moments, never makes anyone uncomfortable. Most people spend their entire lives protecting that version, fine-tuning it, making sure it stays intact, because that version is safe. That version doesn't get rejected. That version doesn't get laughed at or dismissed or hurt. And for a while in a relationship, both people protect that version of themselves. They show up as their best self, their most patient, most thoughtful, most attentive self. And that's good. That's normal. That's how relationships start. But then the real her starts to exist in the margins. The messy thoughts, the ugly 2 a.m. fears, the parts of her that aren't cute or impressive, the parts that get frustrated when you're not paying attention, the parts that get overwhelmed and don't know how to say it, the parts that need things she can't explain. When a woman truly loves you, she stops protecting you from her full self. She gets impatient with you. She shows you the parts of her that aren't always flattering. She calls you out. She disagrees. She gets messy in front of you on purpose. She feels something like, I trust you enough to be my worst self and still believe you'll stay. And that trust, that willingness to show you the parts of herself that she hides from everyone else, is one of the deepest forms of love that exists. Most people in relationships interpret this as a problem. She's been different lately. Why is she always upset? What's gotten into her? They see the mess and mistake it for something being wrong with her. But here's what nobody explains. This isn't her being difficult. This isn't her changing or being too comfortable or letting herself go. This is her being real. And real, Not the curated version, not the highlight reel, but the actual human being underneath all of it. That's where love actually lives. When you can see her inconvenience, her frustration, her mess, and she can see yours, and neither of you runs, that's the moment the relationship stops being a performance and starts being a home. That's when she stops having to be perfect for you and gets to just be. And that permission to be is one of the greatest gifts one person can give another. Number 3, she argues about nothing and everything at once. Here's the part no one talks about. When a woman brings up the dishes for the 3rd time this week, she is not actually talking about the dishes. When she gets quiet when you thought things were fine, she is not actually being dramatic. When she overreacts to something small, she's been holding something much bigger for much longer than you realized. What looks like a fight about dishes is usually two people who feel unheard trying to say something they don't have the language for yet. Something happened 3 weeks ago. She tried to tell you about it, but you were distracted and she let it go. Then it happened again last week and she mentioned it and you said you'd deal with it and you didn't. And now, today, when the dishes are still in the sink, what she's actually saying is, I don't feel like my words register with you. I don't feel like what I'm asking for matters. But she can't say that yet. She's not sure that's even what she means. So she says the dishes. And you hear the dishes. And you get defensive about the dishes. And she gets more frustrated because you're defending against the dishes when she's trying to tell you something else entirely. Her nervous system is saying something like, I've been speaking into a room that doesn't echo back. And what she needs from you isn't a solution. It's not even an apology. It's presence. It's you saying, hey, that seemed to land somewhere deep. Tell me more. It's you reaching toward the feeling underneath the complaint instead of defending against the words on top of it. It's you trusting that if she's bringing this up again, there's a reason. Most couples argue the content. They fight about who said what and who forgot to do what and who needs to be more responsible. The best couples learn to argue the subtext. They learn to hear the thing underneath and go there instead of staying on the surface. When she starts talking about something small and it turns into something big, that's not a glitch in the relationship. That's the relationship telling you there's something underneath that needs air. And when you learn to hear the real thing she's saying, when you learn to go to the feeling instead of the fact, you stop having the same fight over and over. You break the cycle. That's when the walls between you start to come down without either of you having to say a word. That's when she starts to feel like you actually see her. And that feeling, being truly seen, is one of the most powerful forms of intimacy there is. Number 4, she softens around you in ways she doesn't with anyone else. Here's what changes everything about how you read this. There are versions of your partner that the world gets. The competent one, the guarded one, the one who has it together, the one who doesn't need anything from anyone, the one who is strong and capable and always handling it, whatever it is. She performs that version all day long, for her boss, for her friends, for her family, for strangers on the street. And she's good at it. She learned early that the world respects that version of her, so she's become an expert at holding that mask in place. But when she truly loves you, something shifts. Something underneath that armor starts to loosen. She lets herself be less capable around you. She asks for help and doesn't feel weak about it. She admits she doesn't know. She lets you see the parts of her that are still figuring it out. She lets you see the uncertainty she would never show anyone else. Something in her is saying, I can put the armor down here. He won't use it against me. That's not weakness, that's trust. And it's one of the deepest forms of love that exists because it requires her to believe, really believe, that you're safe. That showing you her softness won't come back to hurt her. That she can be vulnerable and it won't be weaponized later. Most couples mistake this for she's changed or she's gotten comfortable. They think she's just let herself go. They think the strong woman they fell in love with has disappeared and been replaced by someone who needs things and asks for help and doesn't have it all together. But comfort isn't what's happening. Safety is what's happening. She has decided, in her body, that you are the one place in her life where she doesn't have to perform. The one person she doesn't have to be impressive for. The one relationship where it's okay to not be okay. And when you protect that softness instead of exploiting it, when you honor it, when you hold it gently, when you never use it against her, She will love you in a way that almost no one else ever gets to see. She will be soft with you in ways that no one else in her life has ever seen. And that intimacy, that quiet, tender, vulnerable space you're building together, will become the deepest part of your relationship. Number 5, she tells you things she's never told anyone. And this is the one most couples never figure out. Every person carries a locked box. Inside that box are things they've never said out loud, unspoken experiences, vulnerabilities they've never put language to, old pain they learned to carry silently because no one was safe enough to tell, embarrassments they're ashamed of, fears they're embarrassed to admit, traumas they don't know how to share. Most people never open that box, not for anyone. They guard it so closely that they sometimes forget it's there. They build their whole life around protecting the contents of that box, not realizing how much energy it takes just to keep it locked. But when a woman truly loves you, that box starts to open. Not all at once, not on a schedule, but in the quiet moments, the late-night conversations when the world is asleep and it feels safe to say real things. The times she's had too much wine and says something vulnerable and then tries to take it back, but it's already out there, already in the space between you. The stories she tells you that she's never told anyone else, that she's kept inside for years, that she's finally ready to set down. What moves through her in those moments is something like, "I've never felt safe enough to say this out loud before, but something about you makes the words come." She is handing you her most vulnerable self. She is putting the most precious, most fragile, most guarded parts of who she is into your hands. And she's watching you, not asking you to keep it safe, not begging you to handle it gently, just telling you, and then going quiet, waiting to see what you do with it, waiting to see if the trust was warranted. That's not casual. That's not normal. That's love in its rawest, most courageous form.
And here's what most people miss. She won't ask you to treat it carefully. She won't beg. She won't make a big deal of it. She'll just tell you and then watch your face. And whatever she sees there will tell her whether she can keep opening up, or whether she needs to close that box again and guard it more carefully. If you hold it right, if you receive it with the care it deserves, if you show her that she can trust you with the most fragile parts of herself, she will give you more, and more, and more. And the depth of that intimacy, the kind that most people spend their whole lives longing for, will become the foundation of everything you build together. Not the excitement, not the passion, not the chemistry, but this, the real, the known, the held. Number 6, she adjusts her dreams for you and lets you adjust yours for her. Most people think love means never having to compromise, that the right person will want exactly what you want, always, without negotiation. That if you have to change your plans for someone, it means they're the wrong one. That's the myth, and it destroys more relationships than almost anything else. But here's the deeper emotional truth. When a woman truly loves you, she starts to see you inside her future. Not as a separate thing she drags along, not as an obstacle to what she really wants, but as a core part of the life she's building. And that changes what she wants. Not because she's abandoning herself, but because she's expanding to include you in the picture. She might have wanted to live in the city her whole life, but if your roots are somewhere else, if you have family there, or a career path there, or a community there that matters to you, something in her starts to look at that place and see possibility instead of loss. She starts to imagine a life there that includes her, includes you, includes what you're building together. She starts to want it. Not for you, with you. She might have had a 5-year plan that didn't include kids, but something in her starts to picture it differently because you're in the picture. Not because she changed her mind about who she is, but because who she is now includes you, and you're in this together, and the dream is becoming something you both shape instead of something she shaped alone. And here's what nobody explains. That adjustment isn't her losing herself. It's her becoming someone new, someone whose identity includes you, someone who is growing and evolving and including you in the story of who she's becoming. And the same thing is true for you. When you adjust for her, when you let her dreams shift yours, when you make space for her in the plans you thought were just yours, that's not sacrifice. That's not compromise. That's the beginning of something bigger than either of you could build alone. What looks like compromise is actually creation. Two people individually dreaming become two people co-dreaming. And that thing you're building together, that future that neither of you could have imagined alone, that's what real partnership looks like. That's what it looks like when love stops being a solo sport and becomes a collaboration. When she stops being your separate life and becomes part of your life, and you stop being hers and become part of hers. And together, you create something that belongs to both of you. Number 7, she fights for the relationship, not against you.
Here's the pattern interrupt everyone needs to hear. Most couples fight like opponents. You versus her. Your needs versus her needs. Your side versus her side. Your argument versus her argument. And every fight becomes a battle for whose reality wins, whose perspective is right, whose feelings matter more. And in that kind of fight, there's no way to win without someone losing. And so every fight feels high stakes. Every disagreement feels like a referendum on the relationship. And both of you start to approach every conversation like it might be the one that breaks everything. But when a woman truly loves you, something fundamentally different happens in the way she fights. She stops trying to win and starts trying to understand. She stops defending her position and starts asking questions. She'll say things like, "Help me understand where you're coming from," in the middle of a conflict. She'll pause when she's escalated and come back with, "I don't want to fight you. I want to figure this out with you." What she's doing is something like, "I want to win us, not this argument." And here's the truth nobody explains. This is rare. This is extremely rare. Most people in relationships fight from a place of protection, protecting their own needs, their own pain, their own voice. And that's understandable. That comes from past hurt, from old wounds, from the times they learned that if they didn't fight for themselves, no one else would. But fighting for the relationship itself, being willing to lose the argument to win the connection, that requires a level of emotional maturity that most people don't develop until they've been in enough relationships to learn what actually matters. Until they've lost enough to understand what they don't want to lose again. Until they've sat in the aftermath of a fight they won and realized that winning felt worse than losing. When she fights this way, she is telling you something enormous. She is saying, "I would rather be wrong about this than lose you." Not because she doesn't have a point, not because she's backing down or giving up, but because she knows, really knows, that what you have together is worth more than being right. And when you meet her there, when you fight for the relationship instead of fighting to win, when you can put down your need to be right and pick up your commitment to the partnership, something shifts. The fights stop being about who's right and start being about two people learning how to be closer. The disagreements stop being obstacles and start being opportunities. And that shift, that fundamental reframe of what a fight is for, that's the shift that turns a relationship that feels like a negotiation into one that feels like a refuge. You see, these 7 things aren't a checklist. They're not a test. They're not something she has to prove to you or something you need to grade her on. They're not a rubric for whether she's really in love or not. They're an invitation to see love more clearly. To recognize that the woman in your life isn't performing her feelings. She's living them. Quietly, inconsistently, imperfectly, but really. Invisible to anyone who isn't paying attention. Invisible to anyone who hasn't been taught to look for the real signs. And if you've been paying attention today, if something about this landed for you, you've probably seen more of these than you realized. Maybe all of them. Maybe in ways you didn't know how to name until right now. Maybe you've seen her choose to stay when leaving would have been easier. Maybe you've seen her let herself be inconvenient with you. Really herself. Really seen. Really known. Maybe you've seen her argue about something small and you understood, finally, that it wasn't about the thing at all. Maybe you've seen her soften around you in ways she doesn't with anyone else and you didn't know what it meant, but you felt it. Maybe she's told you something she's never told anyone and you held it and she kept going. Maybe she's adjusted her dreams for you and you didn't even notice because it was quiet and it was real and it was her way of saying, "I'm in this." And maybe she's fought for you instead of against you, and you didn't recognize it in the moment, but looking back, you see it now. You see that she was trying to win something much bigger than an argument. When you start to understand what real love actually looks like, not the movie version, not the Instagram version, not the version that looks good on paper, but the real, messy, inconvenient, profound, quietly courageous version, you stop waiting for the relationship to get easier and start becoming the kind of partner who makes it deep. And here's the mic drop truth that I want you to carry out of this video. Women don't fall in love with perfection. They fall in love with presence. With someone who shows up, not perfectly, but consistently. Someone who sees the invisible things she does and recognizes them for what they are. Proof that the love is real. Evidence that she chose you. Evidence that she's still choosing you. If you're with someone who does even 2 or 3 of these things, you're with someone who loves you. Deeply. Really. in a way that most people never get to experience, in a way that the world doesn't always recognize or reward or even see, but it's there, it's real, and it's yours. So here's what I want you to do with this. Don't just watch it and forget it. Go back, watch it again. Not for information, for awareness. See her through these 7 lenses. See the love that's already there. See the things she's been doing that you didn't know how to name. And if this landed for you, if it felt like someone finally naming something you felt but couldn't say, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment. Tell me which one hit you hardest. Tell me what you're going to do differently now. Tell me what you're going to see in her that you didn't see before. I read every single one, and I respond to as many as I can. Until next time, take care of each other.